Hello, good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News. This bulletin is coming to you live from our studios here at Kokomlemle in Accra on digital address GA0993341 on Joy 99.7 FM. Is also live on Love 99.5 FM in Kumasi, affiliates across the country on ABN Radio in London and around the world at myjoyonline.com. The news is brought to you by Telesol 4G, just a touch. Coming up, Majority Women's Caucus in Parliament describes as brutal, frivolous and barbaric the inscriptions on the placards of the minority yesterday, describing the Yawaso West Wogon MP as a bloody widow.
That the language on the placards was grossly unparliamentary, frivolous, barbaric and unconstitutional. The minority must bow their heads down in shame and render an unqualified apology.
We have details as the minority justifies its action.
We will not dignify the swearing-in process of a product of a bloody process. She's a direct beneficiary of the violence in the U.S. and Yawaso.
You don't think that's heartless, distasteful?
What is heartless about it? Words take their color from their surroundings.
We have details also. Kodeo hits back at the Electoral Commission boss, insisting the panic created by last Thursday's Yawaso West Wogon by-election shooting disrupted the voting process, rejecting the EC's claims.
The Electoral Commission also in its statement denied that the violent incident which took place at Labauleshi affected voting. Kodeo wishes to reaffirm its initial observation that as a result of the panic, voting was in fact temporarily disrupted.
Also in this edition, 245 buses imported by government in 2016 for Ayalolo bus service grounded.
The World Bank says the business case that emerged assessed 80 buses as the initial requirement. However, the government bought 245, more than 3 times the number.
Joine's investigations reveal the government deviated from implementing the project, which has cost the nation over 742 million Ghana cedis in sports.
The Black Settlers could book an early FIFA Under-20 World Cup qualification ticket if they beat Senegal this afternoon in their second group match at the CAF Under-20 Cup of Nations in Niger.
We have all that and more coming up here on the Midday News with me, Emefa Apau. We settle for the details now, and let's start with the Election Observers Group, Kodeo. They have been addressing a news conference in Accra on the violence that characterized their Yawaso West Wogon by-election. They've been responding to statements they describe as misrepresentations by the Electoral Commission. The news conference is underway now. Listen.
Kodeo is therefore surprised that claims or assertions it did not make in its initial statement have been attributed to it by the Electoral Commission of Ghana in a press statement and at a press conference, apparently in reaction to the Kodeo statement. For the avoidance of doubt, Kodeo wishes to state categorically that, 1, contrary to the impression created by the EC regarding the shooting incident at Labauleshi, Kodeo did not indicate anywhere in its statement that the said shooting incident took place at a polling station. Kodeo was clear in its statement that Kodeo observers witnessed the violent incident, including shooting incident, which took place in the Labauleshi area at East Legon. The Kodeo statement also did not in any way attempt to link the Electoral Commission to the shooting incident, contrary to the EC's claim. Kodeo, in fact, pointed out that its observers could not confirm the exact cause of the violent incident. 2, the Electoral Commission also in its statement denied that the violent incident which took place at Labauleshi affected voting. According to the Commission, the incident did not in any way disturb the conduct of the poll. Kodeo wishes to reaffirm its initial observation that as a result of the panic and chaos emanating from the shooting incident, voting was in fact temporarily disrupted at a police station close to the shooting incident. Indeed, a media report of an interview with the Electoral Commission's own Municipal Director for Elections, that's the one for Ayawaso West Wogon, confirms that voting was disrupted for about 45 minutes in the wake of the shooting incident before normalcy was restored. And the source of this is at Ghana Web, Ghana homepage. When you Google, you get this information there. The information given by the municipal officer with regards to this particular information.
You have the National Coordinator of CODEO, Albert Ahin. My colleague Maxwell Agbagba is at that press conference and joins us on the line. Maxwell, did CODEO provide any evidence to back the claims that they are making?
Well, MFA, they were basically correcting what they describe as some misrepresentations made by the Electoral Commissioner. In fact, they say they follow a strict protocol to ensure its reports really is a reflection of the situation, on the ground. They say if they have problems, they highlight it not to discredit the elections. Therefore, they find it quite important for the Electoral Commission to come out and, basically make statements that they have not made in their own report. So Albert Ahin, he's the one who's been addressing the press conference, and he's saying that the CODEO as an organization stands by one of their observers who actually witnessed a policeman being prevented from doing his work at one of the polling stations during the by-election. We can hear him now.
Regarding the presence of security personnel at polling stations, CODEO is baffled by the EC's indication that CODEO had suggested in its statement that the presence of station security officers specifically or in and of itself disrupted the voting process. CODEO made no such attribution or linkage. CODEO's main concerns regarding security arrangements for the by-elections were explicitly stated as the apparent lack of proper security coordination.
National Coordinator of CODEO, Albert Ahin, once again closely related to this issue. The Majority Women's Caucus in Parliament has described as blasphemous, frivolous and barbaric a reference to the newly elected Ayawaso West Wuogon MP as a bloody widow. The minority MP yesterday walked out of the House when Lydia Seyram Al-Hassan was sworn in protest of the violence that characterized the Ayawaso West Wuogon by-election. They held placards with the bloody widow inscriptions. Today, female MPs on the majority side have been reacting at a press conference in Parliament addressed by Dom Kwabenya MP Adwoasafo. But first, here's Tamale Central MP Inusa Fuseni explaining the minority's action.
That's why we will not dignify the swearing-in process of a product of a bloody process with our presence.
Why do you call her bloody widow?
Because she's a product of she's a direct beneficiary of the violence in the U.S. Ayawaso Constitution.
You don't think that's heartless, distasteful, as some persons have described it?
It's what is heartless about it? Words take their color from their surroundings. And she's a direct beneficiary of the process. And that we are going for her. And we aren't stopping.
You heard the Member of Parliament for Tamale Central constituency, Inusa Fuseni. But the Majority Women's Caucus in Parliament are demanding an apology from the minority. Adwoasafo speaks for the group.
Of the Majority Caucus are grossly disappointed in the attitude and language of the minority members against Honorable Lydia Seyram Al-Hassan on the various placards displayed in the chamber yesterday. We hereby condemn in no uncertain terms the act of the minority, a rather disrespectful and inhumane treatment and an attack on the dignity and integrity of womanhood. This is brutal and unparliamentary. We are absolutely convinced that the language on the placards was grossly unparliamentary, frivolous, barbaric and unconstitutional. Through such unconventional circumstances, we've had these women who are widows have the opportunity to represent their husbands in Parliament.
You heard the Adwoasafo MP for Dom Kwabenya and Deputy Majority Leader. Let's go live to Parliament now and speak to my colleague Joseph Opoku Gakpo, who was at that press conference. So, Gakpo, you've been speaking to Sarah Adwoasafo. Do the female MPs intend to draw the attention of the Speaker to this matter, for instance?
Adwoasafo says so. It's something that they intend to do. The Speaker is currently out of the country alongside the majority and minority leaders. But she told me she would want to draw the Speaker's attention so that then he goes ahead to give a firm directive on how some of these issues be approached so we don't see a repeat of it going forward.
A directive. The Speaker has the discretion to decide on certain matters, give a directive, and it is as good as what is in the standing orders, and it stands, and it becomes a custom and convention of the House that nothing like that should happen. You know, if it's about budgets, 419 budget is not a human being. But where it is personal attack on the integrity and the dignity of a member of parliament, we believe that at least we can do our politics during the heat of campaign. You can be forgiven, but not on the floor of parliament.
Okay, so we can expect that you bring this formally to the attention, the leadership of parliament, when they return eventually.
We will do so.
Now, Joseph, are they expecting anything beyond the apology?
So they think that even beyond an apology, a specific directive that would discourage some of such attacks, as they've described it, on colleague MPs and what they say as an attack on women and widows generally, is what they would require from the leadership of the House.
To walk out during the swearing in of our colleagues. And in going out or in walking out, Mr. Speaker, they carried placards. And on those placards, Mr. Speaker, they boldly wrote, "Bloody widow." Mr. Speaker, I think this is an attack not just on our colleague member of parliament, but it is an attack on women in general. It is an attack, Mr. Speaker, on the widows we have in this country. For you to come to this house to put up such placards to denigrate this house, Mr. Speaker, I think that for precedence sake, just like all the time the minority chief whip will say, we should not set a bad precedent in this house. I want to call on him to do the honorable thing.
So you have the Majority Chief Whip, Matthew Nyindam, on the floor of Parliament drawing the Speaker's attention to the matter. But Joseph, we know that the minority has been responding to the accusation by the majority. What have they been saying?
So what Matthew Nyindam, the Deputy Majority Whip, did was to go ahead of what Adjoa Safo had indicated the Women Caucus on the majority side will do when the Speaker returns. About an hour ago, he went ahead on the floor to draw the Speaker's attention officially to the incident that happened yesterday and requested that the Speaker causes the minority side to apologize for the comments that came out and the description having to do with bloody widow and all. But James Klucha-Veji, who is the Deputy Minority Leader, is the dictates of the standing orders of Parliament. No words were uttered, and they were just inscriptions. The standing orders don't make provisions for that. And the specific standing orders make reference to descriptions having to do with members of parliament and it being offensive. But as far as he is concerned, as at the time the minority did, Lydia Al-Hassan was a member of parliament elect and not yet an MP.
The chamber shall not use abusive, offensive, insulting, blasphemous, or unbecoming words, or to impute improper motives to any member, or to make personal allusions. Yesterday, I did not hear any member from our side who made a speech which content is offensive, abusive, insulting, and the rest.
You heard that James Klucha-Veji, the Deputy Minority Leader in Parliament. Well, a communications professor and gender activist, Professor Audrey Gajapo, says the bloody widow comments description by the minority has the potential to silence women.
There's no question in my mind that the minority was out of line, or anybody who will tag her a bloody widow, whether in parliament or out of parliament, is completely out of line. In other words, there was a by-election, it was violent. I think majority of people in Ghana condemned the violence and have forewarned that we are moving towards a country where violence is marring our elections. I doubt if it had been a male person, they would behave in this manner. This will not be the first time. In fact, this is the third time in our nation's history that widows have assumed the seat of their husband by running and competing with other people. Her identity as a widow is also not necessary, especially for parliamentarians to articulate. Or I want to draw attention to the fact that they held placards against a colleague woman, tagging her a bloody widow. It is intimidating women. Look, this is a parliament that has so few women already. Why? Because our political system is so patronage-based, is so configured that it does not allow for women to compete. And so this just reinforces the kind of political culture we have that is inhospitable to women.
You heard that Professor Audrey Gajekpo. She's a communications professor and gender activist. Now, the woman in the center of all this is the Ayawaso West Wogon MP, Lydia Seyram Al-Hassan, and we're told that she's been visiting victims of last Thursday's shooting at Bawaleshi. My colleague Kwesi Parker-Wilson is with her and joins us on the line. Kwesi, so she's been reacting to the minorities' comments?
Yes, she's been reacting to the minorities' comment. Now, her position is that what the minority did yesterday was surprising to her. She doesn't understand why they did that, especially for the females who are in parliament. They have been advocating for a lot of females to join leadership, and now they have a female in parliament, and they are joining their minority colleagues to boycott the ceremony. She believes time will heal her wounds, and time will definitely tell her story. So these were the comments she made regarding what the minority did yesterday.
But in all this, how is she feeling?
Well, I mean, she has been very sober and calm. I mean, when I saw her this afternoon, her mood tells me that she was calm and sober. And asking her how she feels about the whole situation is when she described as that she's surprised by the minority poster because they have been against a candidate from the word go when she was elected as the PC for the MPP and subsequently the Member of Parliament for Ayawaso West Wogon constituency.
You heard there, my colleague Kwesi Parker-Wilson. We're told that she's already donated an amount of 5,000 Ghana cedis to offset the bills of the victims who were injured in last Thursday's violence at the La Bawaleshi polling station. Now, let's stay a while longer on this story because in the midst of all the condemnations that have come against the violence that erupted at Bawaleshi during the by-election, the minority is demanding the dismissal of the Minister of State in charge of National Security and the IGP. ABF Husseini's minority spokesperson on communications.
The invisible forces and the data forces, who created them? It's the president who created them. When they were in opposition, these were the boys they went and brought the Serbians and the South African mercenaries to train. And they are the people they have taken for further training at Isijuare and brought them. Mr. Brian Champon has laid the cards on the table. He said that he sent the boys there. If the president does not know, he should simply call Mr. Brian Champon and say that you have made a public admission that you sent the boys there. Go and bring the boys. Very simple. Look, the MPP is sitting on the government is sitting on the truth and looking for it. They know if we're in a civilized society and in a serious democracy, Mr. Brian Champon, the IGP order, they should not be in office. They should have been all subject matter of investigations.
ABF Husseini's minority spokesperson on communication. Meanwhile, the police says it is critically examining video footages connected to the Ayawaso West Wogon by-election incident. Let's do some other stories now on the Midday News, shall we? Because 245 buses imported by the government in 2016 have been grounded. The buses were imported to implement the urban transport system to improve public transportation in the country. Joy News Investigations reveals the buses and the infrastructure to run them have cost the nation more than 740 million Ghana cedis. But the program has stalled. In the second of an investigative series titled Grounded Wheels, Manasseh Azariawene reveals the government deviated from the implementation plan of the project, which was designed with support from the World Bank.
In 2007, the government of Ghana, acting on the World Bank report, initiated the Urban Transport Project to build a more decent public transport system in the urban centers. Samson Jamra has been part of the project since 2008.
The objectives of the project was to improve mobility in areas of the participating MMDAs. Then the participating MMDAs were in Gama and then in Kumasi and Ejiso.
In 2016, President John Mahama commissioned the urban transport system, a compromised form of the bus rapid transit. The legal entity created to manage what became known as the Ayalolo bus system is the Greater Accra Passenger Transport Executive. The government imported a total of 245 buses for the Ayalolo project. Some of these buses have not moved since they came into the country in 2016. Those which were used for the pilot project have also been grounded.
The design of the Amasaman corridor required the use of 85 buses for the pilot.
Each of the Marco Polo low-entry city buses cost $251,600, making a total of $61,642,000 US. Together with the cost of developing the infrastructure, the project has cost Ghana more than $151 million US, or 742 million Ghana cedis. Out of this, only $7 million is a grant from the Global Environmental Fund. The rest are loans. The World Bank financed the infrastructural components of the project from 2008 to 2015. In an email to Joy News, the World Bank said,
in the post-completion assessment of the project, the bank rated the implementation performance unsatisfactory. The procurement of the buses by the government represented a deviation from the original plan of establishing a limited competitive regime for public transport operations along major routes. The project envisaged that the private sector operators would be responsible for providing the specified quality of buses for operations alongside designated routes based on the route license issued by the regulator. Government intervention of purchasing buses meant that the element of private sector initiative and investment in passenger transport in the bid to improve mobility is lost.
The World Bank says the business case that emerged assessed 80 buses as the initial requirement. However, the government bought 245, more than 3 times the number. The Ayalolo in its operation of the 68 buses has accumulated a debt of 12 million Ghana cedis. Now, it needs an amount of 20 million cedis to begin operations. But there's still a hurdle to scale, even if it gets the money. Our investigation revealed that interferences from politicians and government officials is the reason Ayalolo could not deal with trotro drivers who parked and loaded at dedicated Ayalolo bus lanes and bus stops. Until a solution is found, the buses will continue to waste away, and Ghana will continue to pay the loans with interest. For Joy News, Manasseh Azure Arena reporting.
You heard Manasseh Azure when he's reporting. Still listening to the Midday News here on Joy 99.7 FM. Stories we've covered so far. Cordeyo has hit back at the Electoral Commission boss, insisting the panic created by last Thursday's Ayawaso West Wogon by-election shooting disrupted the voting process, rejecting the EC's claims. Also, Majority Women's Caucus in Parliament describes as brutal, frivolous and barbaric the inscriptions on the placards of the minority yesterday describing the Ayawaso West Wogon by-election or MP as a bloody widow. And later, we'll get to hear from our members of Parliament who attempt to sing their favourite Kojo Entry song ahead of Joy FM's Lovers Dinner Dance on Valentine's Day.
Me drofu pa you leve. Me drofu pa you leve.
Dianu mai. Bejim lete koma odo. Dianu mai.
Can you help me?
Thanks for staying with us. Of course, they have a lighter side as well. What's your favorite Kojo Entry song? Maybe you would want to let us hear it. Ridwan, you have a favorite?
I was not in Ghana at that time.
Okay, what's in sports?
The national under-20 team can become the first team to qualify for the 2019 FIFA World Cup if they beat Senegal this afternoon in Maradi, Niger at the CAF Under-20 Cup of Nations. The Black Satellites beat Burkina Faso 2-0 on Monday to go top of the table in Group B with the win, and another 3 points this afternoon will not only secure top spots in the group, but a ticket to the World Youth Championship in Poland this May. Assistant coach Amadou Nuruddin says they are focused.
Both teams are motivated, and both teams know that with a win tomorrow, automatically you secure a qualification. So the determining factor will be everybody will be more determined to get their first qualification. And that's going to be the priority of both teams.
You heard assistant coach of the Black Satellites, Amadou Nuruddin there. So we'll be keeping you posted on the match if the Black Stars are playing against Senegal. A win will ensure qualification to the World Cup.
Thank you very much, Ridwan. Now, if you're a public official, hear this. You now have the option of declaring your assets online. This is expected to facilitate adherence to the law as the current manual process proves cumbersome. An envelope containing the declared asset is not supposed to be opened unless a corruption allegation is brought against a public official and a court or equal constitutional body or the same. But Mr. Daniel Domelevo, the Auditor General, says all of that has changed. He's been speaking in an interview with head of our political desk, Evans Mensah.
So today, no one can just come to our place with a sealed envelope and you will be entertained. If you seal it, you'll be asked to open. You open, we can give you another envelope, which after you have done the right thing, we seal it. Going forward, we think the manual declaration is a bit of a hell. So in-house, we have come out with a program, we developed a program for asset declaration, which will soon be launched so that people could do that online. You can log onto the system and declare your assets. We have done it, we've tested it, and we are very happy with it. But why we have not deployed it yet is that I want to do quality assurance.
Before?
Yes, and I've requested the World Bank to send me some of their experts who are involved in asset declaration in other countries. They have graciously agreed that a week after next week, they will be in the country.
But what pushes him to face his tasks so fearlessly? Maybe it all has to do with his name, Daniel. Listen.
You are treading on dangerous grounds.
Yes, I am. I'm a very dangerous man. I like playing with fire. I don't fear fire. You know my name is Daniel.
Yes.
Daniel is very prophetic.
Thrown the lions.
Exactly. That's why I operate in dangerous territory.
You have Daniel Domelevo, the Auditor General, of course, playing with fire, even though they say don't play with fire. But we have just 8 days to a night of intimacy for all couples of the Joy FM's Lovers Dinner Dance on Valentine's Day. I am particularly excited about this event, and so are members of Parliament. Yes, they are certainly not left out of this. Guess what? They've been singing some of their favorite Kujuinchi songs.
Me drofu pa you leve. Me drofu pa you leve.
I'm not. Dianu mai. Vejimi lete koma odo. Dianu mai. Vejimi lete.
Afra front. Can you help me? Who found to me?
So you heard your members of Parliament. I certainly can do a better job than that. Indeed, for a cool 800 Ghana cedis, you and your partner will be treated to an atmosphere of music, good food, drinks, and time with the music man, Kujuinchi. Of course, you get to bond as well all year round. It's time to get intimate. Get a ticket now for your partner and be there at the Kempinski Hotel. Is on 14th February. And that's it for the Midday News here on Joy 99.7 FM. Stories we've covered so far this afternoon. We've heard from Kodeo as they hit back at the Electoral Commission boss, insisting the panic created by last Thursday's Ayawaso West Wogon by-election shooting disrupted the voting process, rejecting the EC's claims. Also, the majority women's caucus in Parliament describes as brutal, frivolous and barbaric. The inscriptions on the placards of the minority yesterday describing the Ayawaso West Wogon MP as a bloody widow. The minority have been justifying the action. And also 245 buses imported by government in 2016 for Ayalolo bus service grounded. And we've heard the Joy News investigations revealing that the government deviated from implementing the project, which has cost the nation over 742 million Ghana cedis. I leave you with Kojo Entry. There's more news when you log on to myjoyonline.com. I am Memefa Apau. Have a good afternoon.